Hi everyone, Rukshan here, and I'm just coming to you from Parliament House here. I'm in the office of Dr. Catherine Cumming, member of the Legislative Council for Western Metropolitan Region. And it's a very, very interesting day that I join her to have this discussion because I think for one of the first times in the history of our state, we have parliamentarians who are packing boxes with their belongings, not because they've left office, but because they've been suspended. And that's the reason that I'm here to discuss this with Dr. Catherine Cumming. So, Dr. Cumming.
Hello, Catherine, Rukshan.
Catherine, okay.
Yeah, that's a bit...
Too formal.
It is totally too formal. It's too formal for me, but I know... that's a little funny story because in Parliament you have to either say you get Mr, Ms, or you can be Doctor. And when I first walked in, it was Ms, and my mother said, "But you're a Doctor of Chinese Medicine." So anyway, it's I would prefer everyone just call me Catherine.
Yeah. So Catherine, got cleared that one up. But so, why are you packing your belongings today? And how did it come to this in the Victorian State Parliament?
Well, I'm very sad, and I guess in some ways I'm doing it because a lot of people today will be losing their jobs, and it's a bit because to feel like everyone else is feeling at the moment. Last night, they made a decision, they moved a motion, the government, that if we didn't hand in our vaccination certificate, our exemption, if we haven't booked an appointment, or we just don't want to hand in any of that information, and they're going to make it public, that, we are going to be suspended. So I could make the decision like a lot of other people out there to hand in my paperwork, my exemption, my vaccination certificate, or I can choose to, like everyone else, be angry about the mandate. I'm upset that we've been making a divided community of the vaccinated and the unvaccinated. So I've made the decision that I'm not going to hand in my paperwork. I was given a box. I'm going to pack up my office, take my plant, and take all the bills that I have to read over the next couple of weeks or months, depending on when I choose to come back and hand in my paperwork to comply with the orders. And yeah.
Well, it's a bit confusing because I've seen, again, a lot of commentary that, parliamentarians should just suck it up like everyone else, do what's necessary and come to work like everyone else has been made to do.
Well, for myself, I'm very principle focused, integral focused. I won't do anything that's against my, how I feel in my heart. When I make a decision, I put my hand on my heart and I go, okay, am I going to sleep at night after this? So it was interesting listening to the debate last night when one of the members of Parliament came in and actually said they thought that this last night was like a good news story, that we were, there wasn't going to be hours of debate about it, that this was going to be a good news story because we're just like all of the members of the public, that we're now mandated as well. I was actually shocked because that just shows that it was a publicity stunt. It wasn't good policy. It wasn't good, I won't call it a political decision. I was actually told when I was in that chamber that we are to scrutinise the legislation, to make changes to make it better. We make decisions for future generations. So we're meant to actually be sitting in there scrutinising, making really good changes that will stand the test of time for future generations. There's a reason why there's a separation from Parliament and the courts and local government or the police. It's so that you can actually make these decisions that are free from interference of all of those things. So last night's decision wasn't made for the betterment of the future generations. It was made for political reasons. The mandate is something that should never have occurred. The reason why past generations, why the legislation is written the way that it is so people can make free and informed decisions for themselves. And here we are forcing people to make a health choice. And I can understand why the federal government didn't want to step into it. They said, we're not going to mandate this. But I find it completely cowardly that the federal government's allowing somehow, under states of emergency, removing people's rights.
Yeah, so...
Each state is mandating.
Yeah, no, definitely, I understand that. And, you know, back to around what's happening with yourself and I think a few other members as well in Parliament, the removal of people's rights, does that also include the removal of representation for people from Parliament? What I'm trying to say is, by removing members of Parliament like yourself who are open to these kind of views or who are standing up for these principles or these rights and discussing these civil liberties, are they in a way removing the voice of the people in the halls of Parliament? Because this is where the decisions are made, right?
Correct.
This is where these things are debated. And if you're not in Parliament anymore and you're suspended, that voice is kind of taken away to an extent. When it comes to certain issues. Isn't that also an interference in the processes of our, you know, Westminster-style democracy that we have here?
They argued last night that in New South Wales they've put up similar a similar motion but it actually virtually states in New South Wales that if a member of Parliament was not vaccinated, that they would be still allowed to come in for the vote. So in other words, they were still allowed to, the most important thing in Parliament is to be able to vote. Victoria did the complete actually opposite. So I'm allowed to participate remotely, so to speak. I'm allowed to speak, so I'll still have a bit of a voice, but I will not be able to vote.
But isn't that the most crucial part of your job, voting on some of these?
Two things. I'm meant to be the voice, so I'm meant to be able to voice my community. In my mind, I'm not there for me. I'm not in Parliament for me whatsoever. I'm actually there to be the voice of my community or for Victoria. So I can get what you were saying, Rukshan, that it's I think there's a lot of people in the community think, oh well, I, as a parliamentarian, I should be mandated as well because everybody is being mandated. I get that argument. But is the mandate right? Is the mandate right? So that's the first bit. Then is it right that the government put up a motion that and it's purely politically driven, so that but they're doing the wrong thing. So I'm now mandated as well. Well, you know, 2 crosses, dum dum. If I don't comply, say if I come to Parliament or I will be in breach of Parliament and then probably thrown out of Parliament. So I actually, I'm like everybody else. Then I will have the next step of lose my job. So yes, and I hear it from the community. Well, I think I've had this conversation with my 10-year-old today. He said, Mum, just hand in your paperwork. You need to be in Parliament to be that voice, you know, it's important. And I explained to him, but it's also just as important, but it's important to voice your opposition. Now, if you don't voice your opposition in the way of protesting in some way, like being suspended and then, you know, for whatever reason, this is my protest, I'm not complying, it's just as bad as others who were in there yesterday who don't believe in mandates but voted with it, feel that they wanted to be popular because they feel that the majority of the community supports mandates. I don't believe that the majority of the community supports mandates.
Yeah, well, that's interesting because I did watch a lot of the debate yesterday, and there was a lot of politicians from the opposition, for instance, that were saying that they're opposed to all these kind of ideas and stuff, but we're going to go ahead with it anyway. And I guess they are doing it. You know, you're taking, I guess, a more of a principle stance and actually standing up for your principles, whereas they know something is wrong. This is just my opinion. They know it's wrong, what's happening, but they're going along with it anyway.
For myself, I think every member of Parliament and every decision should be a conscious vote. So they shouldn't be voting on party lines. So I think one of the worst things about our political system are the parties that make people vote as a pack rather than everybody is in there able to conscious vote at any time. I think that's one of the saddest things that I see about parties. So parties, but I'll pick up another point that you were just making, Shannon, about what you witnessed and what I would say my opinion would be too. That it was sad to watch the opposition, and when you hear that at one stage that they say they're against, they support rapid testing. So both sides of Parliament. The Labor Party and the Liberal Party have publicly said that they support rapid testing. I put up an amendment to the motion saying, we should have rapid testing and then I can participate in Parliament, or anyone can participate because that's, you know, and both of them voted against that. So publicly they've said that, but when it came to actually pen and paper or principles, and so I had the Liberal Party support my motion, I should say, support my amendment, but the Labor Party, with a couple of crossbenchers, voted it down. So, you know, that's playing politics, because if they were doing what the science said, or proper health advice, or standing with their words, rapid testing would be okay.
Yeah, and is that because when you do a rapid test, for instance, coming into Parliament, that gives you a better indication that when you're in the halls of Parliament, that, you know, you're technically safer than
Correct.
just having a piece of paper that has your status on it of
Correct.
vaccination or whatever it is. There's a difference in that, right? There's a real difference.
There's a real difference, because I can walk in with an exemption. So I can walk in with an exemption. I can walk in with a vaccination certificate or half a vaccine. Apparently, if I get one jab, you can walk in. But we all know with the vaccine that it's not a silver bullet, that it reduces your symptoms and you can transmit it. So obviously if you had a rapid test, you know you're walking into Parliament and you haven't got it, and you've pretty much know for the next 72 hours that you haven't got it, you're not passing it on to anybody else. So of course that would be the first thing that you would do. The best thing would have been that we were allowed to do a rapid test and then we could have walked into work. I personally don't believe, I don't care. I don't want people to ask me if I'm vaccinated or not. I don't care. I don't feel scared of unvaccinated people or scared of vaccinated people.
Well, I mean, you say that. Like, is there a perception that some of the laws and rules and mandates that are being passed is creating that fear in the community?
Oh, 100%. You listen to what I've listened to, that we have a premier but continually says that, oh, it's going to be great when people should have the right to go into a cafe and know that everyone in the cafe is vaccinated.
Yeah, I think he says along the lines of when the lockout ends, the lock-in begins, something along those lines.
So this is the argument I had last night as well. It's like, so what's the difference between today and tomorrow? So should I have been like not knowing people were vaccinated or vaccinated, and now tomorrow it's all different? Like somehow everything's going to be different now in the way of how I should treat people. So when I'm walking down the street, I should be treating people differently, because now the vaccinated and the unvaccinated, now we actually can see the different inside shops. Now we're going to see inside shops who are vaccinated and who's not. They're going to be on the footpath. So at the moment we're walking around, we don't know.
So back to everything that's happening with the
We
Parliament. We went
Yeah.
off track there, but it's all relevant.
Yeah.
What's kind of your constituents must be thinking. You're suspended from Parliament. How's she going to represent me? So
Yeah, I think they're going to feel two different things. Yeah, that I should be there, and I shouldn't. I should just hand in my paperwork, and I should just be like everyone else. But then I guess for myself, I can't play their political game.
But in having said that, there's some important votes potentially coming up, right? Whether it's with the extension of the state of emergency or potential pandemic legislation.
Oh, 100%.
And if you're taken out of action in terms of your voting rights on those things,
100%.
what's kind of how are you going to respond to those
How
situations?
How am I going to rectify that within myself? I will obviously I will have to, like everyone else out there that has to make these decisions about getting a vaccination to continue to work, I'll be put in the same position. I will have to make the decision to hand in my paperwork. I keep calling it hand in my paperwork, to continue on. And I'll be able to make that decision when the time arises. It'll be a tough decision, but I will make it, because I have to be here. I have to be here for the important legislation that comes up, to debate it. I will. I'll have to make that decision at that time. But between now and then, I'll get to participate remotely. I'll sadly not be able to vote. I don't even know. Sadly, it's wrong. It's worldly wrong.
Yeah, well, I don't think this has happened. I could be wrong, and anyone can correct me if they know it, but I don't think this has happened anywhere else in the world in terms of parliamentarians being denied the ability to represent the people who have voted for them in this manner. I think it's been debated in certain countries, and it's being brought up as an issue, but they've all kind of decided that the actual processes of Parliament and the importance of Parliament kind of being separate from all of that, and giving people in Parliament, like leaders in Parliament, the ability to kind of represent people with a wide spectrum of views usually trumps all of those other considerations. So it is quite unprecedented, and it's not happened anywhere else, but it's happened again in the most kind of lockdown city in the world. And why is it that in Victoria, in Melbourne, that we are seeing all these extremes in terms of the response to this that we're not seeing anywhere else in the world?
My opinion on that, it's because they're playing politics. They're not doing it for our health. It's the daily presses, and it's all poll driven. So they're not making rational decisions based on the science. They're actually doing it to play politics. So last night was definitely about playing politics, to be seen that the members of parliament are being mandated like everybody else, and then knowing that there'll be a handful of us that will be suspended. They want us out of the chamber because they've got this emergency pandemic.
Yeah, but they want members of parliament like you out of the chamber.
Yeah.
But correct me if I'm wrong, I heard yesterday as well, but the staff in parliament aren't necessarily forced to make those same decisions.
No.
It's just the actual politicians that can vote and have a voice that are being forced into this position as to show the public like they're on the same page, but the actual staff within the parliament aren't necessarily required under these same rules. Similar to how we've recently had judges and stuff saying that they don't have to participate in this kind of mandate thing either. Is that kind of am I right there in my interpretation?
You are 100%. It is. That was all for show. But if we drilled down, my electoral staff that I am still allowed to come in contact with do not have to be part of this mandate. So my staff can continue on to work. They can still go to the electoral office or come here into Parliament. They don't have to show their status. They don't have to hand in their paperwork. And they'll be able to walk around these corridors with the members of Parliament that actually handed over the paperwork.
Yeah, so I'll stop you there. So just to make it clear for everyone, what you're saying is technically, right, staff can still walk into this building, mingle with everyone else as a part of their duties and their normal working duties without having to show that same paperwork.
Yeah.
But because you are a part of, caught up in this kind of motion in the dragnet, as it were, you have to show those papers. So it kind of sounds like a performative type of theatre. Is that a good summation? Is it really about the health and safety of the Parliament itself, or is it more of
100%? But this is the whole problems with the whole pandemic response. Is these big holes, these inconsistencies, these big holes in the net everywhere. Yeah, there's big holes in the net everywhere. So the big holes in the net are under the directions, ministers' staff, like advisors and things. So the people that Dan Andrews' advisors, they'll have to show their paperwork, but there's a whole other section that don't. They fall under another pay bracket, or they're called something else. This is the whole thing. Who's an essential worker? And then you've got a list, and then who falls out of that. But respectfully, the ones that are not mandated are still mingling with the mandated. So, okay, let's go. Construction workers, construction workers are mandated, but then they're mingling with somebody else who's not mandated. They might be going home to someone who's not mandated. You know what I mean? We can take it away from this Parliament stuff, but that's consistent. So it's like they're going to have to... I don't want them to go down the path of mandating everybody. Like, they've made these essential workers. It's just... Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah.
I don't understand how they even had the right to turn around and say who was essential and who wasn't. Everyone who was healthy should have been able to continue to go work and do what they do. You isolate the sick, you help them, you try to stop the spread of the disease. That's how you would slow it down. But mandating that we were locking up healthy people from the start, and then this higgledy-piggledy stuff, it's crazy. It's crazy mad. It's madness.
Yeah.
Under the guise of frightening everyone that this was, frightening it, firstly trying to make out this is the only way you can do it when around the whole world is different. If you compared us to around the world, then they say, oh, look at the numbers, but we are extremely different in the way of population, separation. We're able to physical distance. We you know, we're a big island. We've done so many things. Yeah, it's with the fear with the lockdown has always been this was the only way that we could do it. We haven't. History's going to show that we did it the worst. I have no doubt we're going to go down in history, that we've done it the worst.
Well, it's kind of already happening because I remember at the start a lot of the international press were kind of praising Australia, and now that we've gone, so many months into this, almost 2 years, a lot of the international press is now looking at Australia as a bad example of how to manage something like this.
Yeah.
And a lot of these countries, like you said, if they've come out the other side, the community is more cohesive. They haven't impacted people's livelihoods.
No.
People aren't looking at each other like, us versus them. And these are countries very comparable to Australia in terms of their healthcare systems and the pressures that they have. And the only thing you can kind of come up from that is that it really comes down to policy decisions, right? Decisions of policy. What the government right now is saying, we did everything correct and right, that's just their opinion. There is nothing actually backing that up besides their opinion.
Apart from having an inquiry or a royal commission, so we can actually see if what we've never seen the health advice, we've never seen any of those things to back up why they've ever done what they've done. Yes, it's mainstream media. Yes, it's constantly grabs. It's that messaging, the propaganda. It's been propaganda from day dot that we've actually heard. No one's actually ever spoken to the community in a way of compassion and, a reasonable voice.
I guess to end this conversation with a message of positiveness as well, after discussing all of that, you're going to continue your fight.
I will continue my fight. I am heartbroken at the moment, but I will continue my fight. Don't you worry, Rushkan, I am absolutely going to continue to give it to them. But yeah, on a positive note, I feel that election day, it's a long time away, but everything between now, I don't think everyone's going to forget this. I think people think that, everything's going to open up, everyone's going to be happy. We will bounce back, but I don't think you're going to forget there's no justification for what's happened to us here in Victoria. From our political rights being taken away to our freedoms. Yeah, I don't think we're going to forget.
Well, there you go, guys. Well, thank you, Catherine Cumming, for talking to me today in this conversation, and thank you to all of you for watching, and I will see you all next time.